This is the Hoka Mach 4. It's easily one of the best shoes of the year, but by far, the most common question I get about this shoe is the durability. So let's take these shoes for a run and talk about the Hoka Mach 4 after 100 miles. .46 miles, 8 minutes, 56 seconds per mile, 138 beats per minute today, going for an easy run with some strides thrown in there in the Hoka Mach 4. And with today's miles, I'm getting this shoe to the 100 mile mark. Now, before I give you my thoughts on how this shoe's been holding up after those 100 miles, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me by Hoka for the purpose of review. However, they're not paying me to make this video or to use the shoe, and they're not going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Hoka Mach 4. First, let's go over some specs on the shoe. It's a 29 millimeter stack height shoe with a 5 millimeter drop, giving us 24 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. And in that midsole, we've got a dual layer foam system called ProFly. This is something that Hoka's been using for a while, but they've really managed to tweak it and make it just so good in the Hoka Mach 4. The top layer, or the gray layer in this shoe, is a much softer, more cushioned layer, and below that is a rubberized EVA foam that's a little bit firmer and gives you a little bit more bounce as you're pushing off as you are running. On the outsole, there is no rubber to protect the outsole, but it's that rubberized EVA compound that you can run directly on, and you got a little window in here so you can see that softer layer kind of poking through. In the upper, we have a engineered mesh made out of heat pressed TPU yarns, and on the tongue, it's a slightly padded tongue that's also ventilated and not too tall. Towards the back, we start to see a lot more padding and cushioning all around the heel collar and even back into the rather large Achilles flare, which is nice and comfortable, very nice to the touch. And you can also kind of use it as a bit of a pull tab as you're putting the shoe on. There's a pretty hard piece of plastic that's back here, and it's also supported by the way that the foam kind of comes up and creates these little guide rails and a little cup for your heel to sit inside as you are running in the shoe. All told, all this put together comes in at a relatively light weight, 8.2 ounces and 232 grams. Now with those specs out of the way, let's talk about what it was like to run in this shoe. And this shoe has been fantastic for me to run in. I've just been enjoying this thoroughly from the moment I got it out of the box up to the 100 mile mark. Every mile has been fantastic in this shoe. Just a real surprise. I didn't run in any of the previous versions of the Mach, but I think for the Mach 4, it's a very different shoe than what they've previously had in it. And I think that's for the better. I think that easily this is the best shoe that Hoka makes in its road lineup. Others might be faster, others might be more cushioned, but in terms of like, you just want to say what's the best Hoka shoe in terms of the roads, I think that this is it, hands down. And I think the combination of the fit of the shoe and the responsiveness of these two foams together makes it really suitable for things like strides when I'm working a little bit harder. So I'm able to take this shoe for strides, which I'm running at my mile race pace, which is about in the 5 minute per mile range, all the way up to my recovery runs, which are closer to 10 minute per mile range, and everything in between. It's just doesn't make sense how it can be good at all of those paces and at a variety of distances. And yet I find myself reaching for it and looking forward to running in it pretty much no matter what kind of run I have coming up on the menu. In terms of the fit in the upper, I feel like it does a really fantastic job of, again, confusing me, because not only is this upper comfortable and roomy enough for those recovery runs, but also on those days when I do need to pick up the pace, maybe I'm doing some strides, maybe I'm doing a fartlek, the shoe still feels locked down enough where I don't feel like I'm slipping around or sliding, and I feel snug enough to be able to run quickly in the shoe. So it's just one of those things that it rises to the occasion in terms of fit no matter what. And in terms of wear and tear, the upper feels absolutely brand new, and even just giving it a little bit of the smell test, which I think is a way to test some of the breathability of the upper. The shoe still smells pretty good. So I think it's holding up really well on all sorts of levels in terms of the upper. Now, the big question though, let's talk about what the wear and tear has been like on the midsole. Now, we're running directly onto this rubberized EVA foam without any actual rubber on the outsole to protect the foam or to provide grip. And as far as grip goes, today was a really wet day out there, and I didn't feel like I was running in a different kind of shoe. So I didn't feel like I had to make any sorts of adjustments or avoid anything because of the fact that I was running in a shoe that didn't have a rubber outsole. I felt like I could go anywhere that I needed to go, and I felt sure-footed the entire time. In terms of the wear and tear, there is, yes, a lot more visual wear than I would normally expect from, say, a traditional outsole after the 100-mile mark. But you could still see that there are a lot of the etchings and the designs that are in the original outsole are still there and still visible even at the 100-mile mark in this shoe. So I feel like as far as an exposed foam system goes, I think this is holding up really well. The areas that are the highest wear for me are kind of the outer portion of the heel and right in the midfoot area, right under the balls of the feet. And yes, there's wear, but it's a little bit more than I would expect on the balls of the feet. And it's actually right about what I would expect, or maybe even less than I would expect on either of the outer portions toward the heel in terms of the wear and tear there. And even if there is significantly more wear, it's not like I'm concerned that a person would completely wear through that rubberized EVA outsole layer. I think that there's still plenty of stack height in that white outer foam that you're going to be able to continue running in the shoe for the long time. Now, just as a matter of letting you know what I've been running on, I've been running primarily on paved surfaces and on crushed limestone. So like no dirt roads where there's rocks, anything larger than like little pebbles for me to stand on. I think that in those kinds of situations, exposed foam like this is going to take a little bit more of a beating, just as a rubberized outsole would. So depending on where you tend to typically run, that is something that you might want to take into consideration. But for someone that's putting in mostly road miles, or mostly like really well-groomed packed surfaces, I think that this shoe is not going to be something that you really have to worry about in terms of excessive wear. The one thing that I would kind of worry about for this shoe and all kind of exposed midsole foam shoes is wet grass. I just think that wet grass gets really slippery even for like full rubber outsole, and that's a situation where you might want to be a little bit more careful. Maybe look at a crossover trail shoe or something that has a little bit more grip in terms of the outsole. But except for that situation, I think in terms of normal road usage, I don't think you really have to worry about excessive wear on the Hoka Mach 4. So overall, I've really been enjoying the Hoka Mach 4. I do think already that it's one of the best shoes of the year. It's just absolutely amazing what they're doing with it. I don't know what they have planned for the Hoka Mach 5, but I would say to a lot of people out there, if you are loving the Hoka Mach 4, go out and don't be afraid to hoard this one. This is a really good one, and there might be some subtle changes for the Mach 5. I don't know. I haven't seen any images for it yet. But even if they can make the Hoka Mach 5 better, this Hoka Mach 4 is good enough that if you had a couple of extra pairs in your closet, I don't think that you're going to regret it. I do like this shoe that much. So those are my thoughts on the Mach 4 after 100 miles. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream they do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hope you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?